I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Listen, this may be one of the last times I get to talk in front of you all and talk about this amazing thing that we have all done together over the course of the last year. Some of you over the course of the last 5 years. Some of you who have the misfortune of being married to me over the last 15 years. But we're all together here tonight, and I just want to begin by thanking each and every single one of you. You've been so amazing for us, with us, to us, for the duration of this, and I cannot thank you enough. And I want to begin by thanking my family. My mom, Melissa, I hope is still here. Where are you, Mom? She's at the bar. Love you, Mom. You know, some of you know this, some of you don't, but in addition just to being an extraordinary human being and to being my mom and the mom of Aaron and Charlotte, my two wonderful sisters, and the strongest person I know, we learned that my mom had cancer just months ago, and a pretty aggressive form of cancer at that. And the whole time that we've been campaigning together, and she's been pushing us and supporting us and encouraging us, she's been in the fight of her life, literally, and undergoing chemotherapy and treatments in Houston and then coming back to El Paso. But without fail, the unconditional love and support and the push that you give me day in and day out kept me going throughout this. So, Mom, I love you so much. We're all on your campaign now against this cancer. And my sister Charlotte, my sister Erin, Maximo, Patrick, this entire family, Brooks, Christine, Jimmy, Jane, all the family who came in from out of town, love you all so much. For Amy, who, you know, sometimes folks will say, it was so nice of your wife to give you permission to do this. And those of you who know us and know our family, there was no permission sought. There was no permission granted. This was a decision that you and I made together. And we did this because of the other part of our family, Ulysses and Molly and Henry. They continued to be the impetus for this. We know that at some point or other, we will face their judgment for what we do or what we fail to do at a moment of truth like this one. And we wanted to make sure that we could come through. And when they ask us at some point down the road, what were you up to when all these terrible things were going on in Texas, and when we still had a chance to do something about it? We want them to know that we stood to be counted along with so many other extraordinary, wonderful people who are in this room with us tonight. So I want to thank my family. And those of you who've been part of this campaign, you know this. Amy has been out on her own, doing town hall meetings, conducting rallies, doing interviews on media in Spanish and in English as well, block walking every day, converting people who've never voted a day in their lives. She registered someone who was 83 years old last month, who's voting in the first election of her lifetime. So watch out. Next time you see an O'Rourke on the ballot, it might just be Amy O'Rourke, okay? No? I want to thank all of our friends who are here again, who have supported us back from running for sixth grade class president at Mesita Elementary, Chris Cummings and others, and everyone who's been giving us a push along the way and helping out as we've been in the campaign of our lives. I mean, we've put every ounce of effort, every moment of time that we have into this, and you all know that, and you've been there for us, and you've been there for our kids, and you've been there for counsel and guidance, and even, you know, Mike Waters' spiritual direction and connecting me to the higher power in our life. And so to my friends who are here, thank you all for your love and your kindness to me. Love you all so much. Now let me just say something about this campaign team. So Nick Rathode, who was our campaign manager, who was, where is Nick? Nick, if you could raise your hand, also at the bar for understandable purposes right now. Nick Rathode came in and had the courage to take on something that, most people said by the odds is going to be absolutely impossible. But just like Amy and me, he's thinking about his kids in his home, how he's going to answer them, how he must come through for them at this moment of truth. And he took the reins of this campaign, brought together a truly extraordinary team that ran an amazing effort in this race. I was just always struck by the professionalism and the effectiveness and the efficiency, where we had to make a virtue of a necessity, given how much more money the other guys had, how much more advantages were held on the other side, how tilted the balance is on this field on which we play right now. And he brought the best of the best together. Too many to name, but in every department, every activity that we had to undertake, I feel so good about the folks who stepped up and answered the call under his direction. And in the truck I was traveling in, and I've been on the road literally, we got in the truck here in El Paso on November 15th, 2021. And we basically stayed on the road, with some exceptions back here in El Paso, every day since then. And in that truck, we had Chris Evans and John Grote, also known as the hotties in the back, for those of you who follow them on social media. And in the co-pilot seat was Cynthia Cano, who has just an extraordinary person. Every one of those events that we have held across the state with this amazing events team, and there's, again, too many people to name and to count, but we went to where literally nobody else ever goes. We went to the places that everyone goes. We literally went everywhere. And Cynthia and this team set those up, connected us with those people, kept us on time, kept us alive, kept us on the road, got us here to this point. And so, you spend a year with a bunch of people inside the cabin of a truck. And, if you don't kill each other first, you develop a deep love and friendship and gratitude for those who are with you every step of the journey, every mile of the way. So to the team in the truck, I just want to say thank you to Chris, John, Cynthia, and then all of you, and every volunteer, every person who signed up for a shift to knock on doors, to make phone calls, to write letters. You all were part of the most amazing effort that I have ever been a part of, at least in my 50 years on this planet, and the most amazing effort I've ever seen in the state of Texas. And we've been part of some amazing efforts before, but this one really takes the cake. And you think about where we all were when we all made the decision to do this together. I mean, just the odds that we faced, for starters. And the fact that the party in power has been in power not for years or cycles, but for decades so far. The advantages that they had in money, in people, in the powers of incumbency, and the levers that they could pull, in the way that voter registration and just being able to cast a ballot in Texas is a lot harder than it has to be, and a lot harder for people who might otherwise be voting for us. And all the challenges that we already had going on in this state. This democracy under attack, a grid that did not work, women's rights to make their own decisions about their own bodies, under attack here more than anywhere else. And, most people would look at that and just say, no thanks. And many did and came to that conclusion. But against all that, at a time when we could be tempted to give in or to give up, we all decided instead to give it our all. And that's what I think distinguishes us and defines us right now. Everything that we could possibly give to this, we gave to this. And I don't mean the candidate And I don't mean the staff, I mean every single person who was a part of this campaign. This amazing finance team that, though the governor had more resources and more ability to raise resources, outraised the sitting governor of the state of Texas 3 quarters, 3 different reporting periods. All the small dollar donors, all the big dollar donors, the 95,000 plus volunteers who knocked on more than 5 million doors across the state of Texas, made millions more telephone calls, wrote tens of thousands of letters, made these amazing banners that we saw hanging over freeway overpasses all across the state of Texas. You all are amazing. And here's what we decided to do together. Once in action, we realized that action, that work, that being with one another is the absolute antidote to despair or succumbing to current conditions or the status quo. It took us across the entire state of Texas. It's the only way to meet a state this big and this divided, to go to where people may not see eye to eye with us. So you could not be too rural or too Republican represented or too big or blue for that matter, for us to be there, to listen to you, to learn from you, to seek the common ground in front of us, and to find out where we could agree and where we could work together. That's what I want to see for my Texas and for my country going forward. In a state that has this level of voter suppression and voter intimidation, the hardest in the nation in which to cast a ballot or to get your name on the rolls to be registered to vote in the first place, we made those who've been shut out from this democracy our priority. And when I talk about those 5 million doors and the millions more phone calls made, we were targeting those who had themselves been the targets for disenfranchisement in the state of Texas, bringing in new voices that we had never heard from, votes that had never been counted, the very people who should be able to decide the outcome of this election. And against a governor in a state where there are no campaign contribution limits, where he started, folks, $50 million ahead the day that we entered this race. This team never gave up. Hundreds of thousands of people gave whatever they could, $5, $25, $50. And through this finance team, they were able to get people to give a lot more than that as well. And then we used those resources as effectively, as efficiently as we possibly could, knowing that we would never be able to outspend the incumbent, our opponent, but knowing that those resources were precious and we had to use them to get to those doors of those voters who otherwise we would never hear from in this election. In other words, all of us doing all we could with what we had, where we were, wherever we were across the state of Texas, the most awesome undertaking that I've ever had the pleasure or the honor to be with. And it brings us now to this moment where, after we have described to our fellow Texans the choice in this election, after some truly historic failures in this state over the last 8 years, we offered a vision, a Texas where every woman makes her own decisions about her own body and her own future and her own health care. A state where children don't have to fear going to school and being gunned down in their classroom and their parents having to identify them by the shoes that they are wearing. Or in those same schools, teachers not having to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet because we treat them with enough respect. We pay them enough so they can focus on that most important job in front of them. A state where we expand Medicaid and folks can afford to see a doctor, go to a mental health provider, fill a prescription, be healthy enough to go to school or to work or to raise their families. A state where we are no longer incarcerating people for possession of a substance that is legal in most of the rest of the country right now. These are things that not just Democrats agreed on, but Republicans, independents, our fellow Texans from across the state. And the best way that I can put all of this in a way that maybe any of us can understand is we just want a state where people are free enough and healthy enough to be able to pursue their potential and rise to fulfill their true promise. A state where we are not defined or divided based on our differences, but find the common interest for the common good right here on the common ground before us. Well, that still is the Texas that I want to live in. That is the dream that I, and I hope all of us, will continue to pursue. I don't know what form that will take. I don't know what my role or yours will be going forward, but I'm in this fight for life. I'm in this with you. Thank you, man. Thank you. And listen, and chingon, that's right too. They're trying to translate that right now on the news feed in other parts of the country. Hey, so you know, who knows what's next for any of us, right? I just cannot thank you enough for giving all of us who are part of this campaign your time, your resources, but most importantly, your faith in what could be possible in this state. Let us never break that faith. Let us always keep that faith. Let us also back it up with the fight necessary to continue to try to win over and over and over again until we can realize this dream, these goals, this Texas that we want for one another, that we deserve for our kids, and that ultimately one day we are going to be able to bring home. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Thank you for being part of this campaign. Les agradezco. We'll see you out there. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye. Thank you.